Hello boyos, Rich Boy J here back in with another video, and this is going to be the LEGO Star Wars MOC Showcase episode 16. This is a series I have created to highlight some of the best MOCs I've come across on the internet. If you find any of the MOCs in this video impressive, I'll ask that you go to the link in the description and support the builders by giving them a like, comment, or even a follow. First MOC we're going to take a look at today is a Felucia vignette by Flickr user Malin Jarek. I like that quite a bit, and I like it a lot because I feel like it employs the blacklight technique with some of those trans neon colored Lego parts, and it looks really nice. I feel it'd be a good thing for a lot of builders to kind of experiment with this. If you guys aren't entirely sure what I'm talking about, those long trees and like the trans neon green and the trans neon orange actually will glow if you put them under a black light. I think there's maybe a few other parts that will fluoresce like this if you do so under a black light. So I find it cool when builders employ that technique. There was specifically someone at Brickworld who always does this and has a pretty large like flower display under a black light. So Felucia's, I think, a great place for this. Maybe you could even use it on Ambara as well, and I think the MOC just looks really nice in that regard. It's relatively small scale, so it's something you can put on a shelf, which I really do try to go out of my way to include small builds like this in this series, because I know people are always looking for build inspiration and not everyone wants to shell out the big bucks to build a large scale MOC. So I really do like showing people that, look, you can do really nice detailed MOCs that are very effective at really any price range, depending on how much detail and how much effort you want to put into it. I also like the crab droid build over to the right. It's kind of cool. I also like the usage of just the random helmets kind of in the grass. It's kind of cool, kind of sad, makes you think there's like soldiers who got wiped out and their parts are just kind of laying all over the battlefield. But other than that, I like the fact that this build is also somewhat freeform. It looks like the black sections kind of taper off in like a rigid edge, but the terrain goes to the side and the like bottom of the build, like those olive green pieces, specifically those sheet slopes, and that always looks nice. I keep telling myself I need to do freeform build, really just to prove to myself that I actually can do it, because at this point I have little to no experience with it. So I love that this is a trend that is taking over the MOC community, because it's one that's really nice and makes these builds look much better than they would otherwise. So like I said, not too much to say about this build. It's relatively small, but those fluorescent like plant pieces I think just make this build, like the lighting on this thing is just perfect. So someone can do this at an even larger scale, incorporate maybe even some larger trees or more complex trees. I think that would be incredible as well. But otherwise, this is a nice little thing you can put on your shelf. So great job, Malen. This next build we're going to take a look at is called Project Tatooine. It's a collaboration by ROLUG, hopefully I'm saying that correctly, and it was uploaded by Flickr user Liwnik, as you can see at the top left corner of this image. But the cool thing about this MOC, I feel, is just the way it all comes together. Like, just looking at it kind of from a pulled back perspective, it's a nice looking just cityscape of Tatooine. It looks just so vast and so interesting, and if I were up close on this, I would love to shrink down to the size of a minifigure and just walk through this thing, because it looks like there's some nice details in this. Unfortunately, this is literally the best picture I could find of this MOC, so this isn't one that I can really hone in too much on the details on, but I think that the picture we have does a great job at least showing us the gist of this MOC, a little bit about what this MOC is about. So obviously it's Tatooine. I think one of the inclusions that's pretty sweet in this MOC is like the Imperial installation you can see at the very back, and I like this idea. One of my friends in the community, Lego Soldier 82, basically had this exact same idea. So if you're watching this right now, this MOC is basically for you, man. You can take some inspiration on this whenever you are able to work on that MOC again. But I love the idea of this MOC. One of the cool things about it also, I feel, is just the sand design, and it's not one that I feel like you see too often. Like, most people will just put like tan plates at the bottom and be done with it, but the fact that they kind of have like a pattern of those dark tan streaks that go across the MOC, I think actually make it look really nice. It adds a good amount of detail to it, and it flows pretty naturally as well. It looks like there's some dark oranges in there as well. So I definitely applaud them on that, because making terrain look natural is definitely not an easy thing to accomplish. But one of the other cool things about this mock that I'm realizing looking at it is it looks like there's quite like a battle going on, actually. Kind of gives you like Jedha vibes, but specifically taking place on Tatooine, which is kind of a cool idea, to imagine that there would be some rebel insurgents maybe defending the Empire's presence on Tatooine. They probably wouldn't take too kindly to that. So you see we have up front, there's like the AT-STs joining up, and it looks like they're converging on the rebels who were posted up on that building. And I mean, it really is a shame there isn't a better picture of this, because I would really love to just get a close view of this, because it looks like there's some pretty sweet action going on really just in that section alone. But over to the left, we got some custom bantha builds, which I always appreciate, because Lego doesn't feel the need to give us a bantha mold. So shout out to the builders who take it upon themselves to make up where Lego has just seemingly not found interest in, and create some bantha builds. So I think those actually look pretty nice as well. Unfortunately, most of the other things in this picture are really too far back for me to hone in on the details on, so I just wanted to just give you guys an opportunity to look at it, because I think this is just such an aesthetically pleasing mock, getting a pulled back view of Tatooine, especially with that Imperial installation in the background. I think that this is just incredible, and it's a good collab idea. I feel like you don't typically see collaborations for Tatooine where people can maybe just bring like a modular section of it and then combine them all together. So if you lugs are out there looking for a collab idea, this is definitely one I feel that could be very effective. So great job to ROLUG on this one. It's a shame there aren't many close pictures to this mock, because this is one of those ones I feel could have been like the premiere mock, the one I talk about at the very end, but this picture kind of limits the amount that I can discuss this mock. Next up, we're going to take a look at the photography portion of this series. I haven't really done this in a while, but I found this picture and I literally could not help but to include it in here. So this is by Flickr user xjohns, and I don't really have too much to say about this other than that it is freaking hilarious. Just the expression on the Rebel Fleet Trooper's face, he is absolutely terrified, but it's kind of like the goofy terrified expression, not necessarily the actual terrified one, which I think makes this a funny picture, especially with Vader looming in the background, his lightsaber literally making the entire room red, and this guy is just like, here, like, take this thing. Also, if you can, like, open the door so I can squeeze through, if you don't mind. Maybe if he took off that helmet, he'd actually be able to fit through there. But I love this photo so much. This is one I would love to have blown up and framed. I don't know, who knows, maybe I'll actually do that at some point. But I love when people come up with creative photography inspired pictures like these for Lego figures, especially when just the character's facial expression can tell just the whole story of what's going on here. So like I said, not too much to say about this. Like, the build is fine, but the fact that this guy just looks just terrified is freaking hilarious to me. So hopefully you guys get a kick out of this photo as well. All right, this next mock I'm super excited to show you guys. It is called Jakku Repair Station. It's by Flickr user Gubi 0222. I believe in the description of the photo, this was actually done for a contest on Eurobricks, but that's kind of besides the point. I love this mock. In short terms, this thing is so freaking cool to me. I just love the idea of it. I feel like there's a few mocks that I've presented on the series that, like I said, aren't really based on anything canonical, but I feel add lore to the story of Star Wars and add lore to certain locations. And this is something that I could absolutely imagine being on Jakku. Like, it's probably not all just completely desolate. Like, I'm sure people have speeders that need servicing, and these guys get the job done. So to really look at some of the cool things about this photo alone, I think that this is something that I thought was kind of surprising that actually stuck out to me, but the usage of those like pink flags I feel add quite a bit to this mock. Like, it's color you don't typically see especially in Star Wars MOCs. So the inclusion of those, I feel, are actually pretty freaking cool. Another thing that I thought was awesome is the usage of the freaking pit droid in this. Like, that is just hilarious to me. I honestly wouldn't be too shocked if we saw pit droids show up on Jakku at some point if we go back there. That seems like the perfect place for them to be. But the general design of this build is also pretty sweet. Like, the roof is a great use of those windscreen parts, as well as that, I don't even know what you call that part. That's one of those ones I had in my collection as a kid, but I don't really see too often anymore. But it's basically, it's like sloped on both sides, like it's maybe like a 2x10 or a 2x12. I have no idea what that part is called, but this person apparently has a lot of them, and they put them to pretty good use. I feel like that roof design is actually pretty sweet, especially with the way it curves around on this. So let's actually go to the next photo and get a better look at the inside of this build. And I like this so much because there's just so much going on with this MOC in a very confined space. I feel when you can accomplish that, which is not an easy thing to do, like some techniques it's just easy to kind of take for granted, but clearly this guy put a lot of attention to detail in literally every part of this MOC, and it definitely shows. Like, this is one I feel if you saw it at a convention, you were walking near it, it would definitely just kind of pop out to you because of all the vast colors and details that are included in it. But one of the cool things I like about this is, I'm guessing that's maybe some sort of like AC unit at the very top of the MOC, and then there's like the pipes that lead off of it going to the left side of the MOC, and then they curve around the room. I don't know, it just looks really cool to me. That's a good use of those rim pieces. I think the shelf is also really cool. Like, right below that, you can see there's like a resistance helmet actually kind of propped in there, which, I don't know, makes maybe a little bit of sense. I think maybe if you included an like original trilogy Rebel helmet in there, it'd be even cooler, just kind of like a tribute to Jakku, because we know there's a big battle there, and a bunch of the remnants of that battle just kind of hung around. So them having a Rebel helmet there would actually be kind of a funny callback to that scene where Rey just randomly puts it on. But I think the minifig placement on this thing is pretty sweet as well. Like, the characters all look pretty diverse, especially with the freaking pit droid. I can't get over that. If you look on the right side also, we have one of Unkar's thugs with like the Embo hat on, and I'm sure that's not supposed to be Unkar's thug, but like it's a good looking Jakku minifigure, so it works. One of the other cool things about this, and I mean, I don't know what the heck the name of this droid would be, but it's kind of like a service droid all the way over to the right, and like it looks like something straight out of Star Wars. I'm gonna start using that term on this series now. When it's something that someone creates that maybe isn't immediately recognizable, and I don't, who knows, maybe this thing is recognizable, I just don't know what it is, but this looks like something straight out of Star Wars, and I love that build so freaking much. Like, this build just makes me so happy. Like, this builder included so much detail in it, and it adds so much to the lore of Jakku. This is something I would love to see maybe done on the big screen at some point down the line. So if we actually go to the final picture, we get a better look at the 3 custom speeders that were made for this MOC, and these on their own actually look pretty sweet. They all look like they have their own maybe style and design in mind, and they fit in with the Star Wars universe pretty well, I think. I especially like that one to the far right. I can imagine maybe some of Enfys Nest guys riding around in that thing, or maybe like Unkar's thugs could be patrolling the area in a speeder that looks like that. So all in all, this is one of those MOCs that make me so freaking happy, and I'm super glad that I was able to show it to you guys, because when I found this thing, I was like, oh, this thing has to go in the MOC showcase. And that's going to finish up the video today, guys. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at these MOCs as much as I did getting to show them to you. One thing I ask, if you watch this video and you find any of these MOCs impressive, is please go support the builders. They worked clearly very hard on these things, and they deserve all the support they can get. So check out those links in the description. Also, if you like what I do, go ahead and support the video by hitting the like button, support the channel by smashing that subscribe button, and I'll be back again very soon.